Last month I played Realism, a mod for Doom, a game that, well, might be notorious for its grotesque violence and satanic imagery, so why don't we play a happy game for a change? One that'll make us feel safe and give us warm, fuzzy feelings inside, something the whole family can enjoy.
Hi!
Ah! I said a happy game, not Kirby! No, I'm not joking. Don't let that innocent facade fool you. This little pink menace is the destroyer of worlds. Take his sweets away and he'll beat you within an inch of your poor, unsuspected life. Give him a funny look and he'll devour your very being into an endless void that cannot be escaped from. And now he has the power of friendship at his disposal. You will be his best friend whether you like it or not. Love him unconditionally. Follow his every movement until he finds you expendable. You're nothing more than a puppet. Kneel before the puff of terror. Anyway, let's talk about Kirby Star Allies, released in March of 2018. This marks his first game on the Nintendo Switch, and it's a typical Kirby experience. What do I mean by this? Well, I'll explain as we delve into the game. On a faraway world, a cloaked figure unleashes a dark purple heart upon the universe. The heart takes possession of Kirby's friends, turning them into corrupted forms of their former selves. Our all-commanding god of friendship is immune to the curse. Instead, he gains the ability to make enemies his allies, who assist him throughout the worlds he visits on his adventure. It's a basic story, with Kirby traveling from point A to point B. There isn't much to the story this time around. The main focus is on the gameplay. People who haven't played a Kirby game before will not be too engaged by the story. But for veteran Kirby players like us, the final level is where the story becomes fascinating. It ties into the mythos of the Kirby lore with a stroke of brilliance, and even the final boss itself can lead to some interesting theories. Definitely worth playing if you follow the mythology of the Kirby series. One thing the Kirby games always excels at is the presentation, and this game abides to that law. It's colorful, bright, and just nice to look at. Thanks to the added power of the Switch, it's easily the best looking entry to date, coupled with an excellent soundtrack. I can never say a bad thing about it if I tried. I especially enjoyed the slow-paced, atmospheric pieces. It complements the laid-back, fun nature of the game. Some Kirby fans might find the return of older tracks to be repetitive, especially since it's been done to death in previous entries, but they're still great songs. It's hard not to enjoy them. The 8-bit remix of Arena Battle is my favorite. Just have a listen. In the game, Kirby traverses through 4 different worlds to stop the menace terrorizing the universe. It's your basic Kirby platformer. You'll run through plenty of stages, jump across platforms, fight bad guys, and uncover hidden secrets. The main gimmick of Star Allies is working together with 3 other characters, whether CPUs or humans, to reach the end of the level. People who have played previous Kirby games will be right at home here, as this mechanic was used in Kirby Superstar. So it's not necessarily new, but it's fun to play around with the various characters. One thing I love is the addition of the friend abilities, where you can mix and match various power-ups to try out. It's fun and paves the way for a lot of experimentation. You can also use something called a friend platform, which lets Kirby and his friends perform special actions. Each one is unique and does add variety to the gameplay. When you're not playing with friends, the CPU character's AI is exceptionally programmed. They perform their tasks when prompted to, and will stay out of harm's way unless you go on the offense. Well, most of the time. The game is tightly designed. Combat is fun, although a little chaotic, the controls are fluid, and the frame rate remains steady throughout the entire game. And it's all just fine. Nothing more. See, this is what I mean by a typical Kirby game. All the familiar elements are there, but there's nothing entirely new about them. It's the same mechanics seen in other games. To a newbie, it's satisfactory, but for fans of the series, it might be a letdown. It feels like a safe Kirby game. No chances are taken to try and enrich the experience. Now, let's talk about what I think is the biggest issue with Kirby Star Allies: the level design. It's so basic and flat. A lot of the areas can feel like large corridors to walk down, just with occasional jumps to make. There's no variation, no creativity. When I think back to the levels, none of them stand out. Only the final boss was the most memorable part of the game. Some of you may be asking, well, it's a Kirby game, isn't it supposed to be basic? And that's not true at all. Kirby is meant to be for beginner players, sure, but they still offer fun, interesting level design. That's why even veteran players get sucked into these games. Play Planet Robobot. They introduced a new mechanic, a mech suit, and use it in interesting ways. Even from an aesthetic view, the levels are more memorable. Remember the casino level? That was so cool! In Star Allies, the levels are the usual fire, water, grass, and castle levels. Sometimes you'll see interesting variations, but again, it feels typical. By the end of the game, I was starting to feel burned out, especially with the last world. There are so many levels that it feels like it goes on for eternity. Have they divided the worlds more evenly? It may not have been a trek to play through. But I'm not saying this game is bad. Like I said, it's well made. There is fun to be had. Casual gamers who've never played a Kirby game before will have fun, especially with friends. Playing with 3 other buddies can always be an enjoyable experience. But for Kirby fans, they'll find it disappointing. It doesn't take any risks with the formula. What doesn't help is that, with how Nintendo handled Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild, you expected Kirby to follow suit. Both Mario and Zelda for the Switch took their respected franchises in new directions, and many years from now, they'll be looked back on for their ingenuity. Kirby Star Allies will not. Don't get me wrong, there is plenty of extra content once you complete the game. They'll provide some more entertainment, but once everything is completed, you'll probably move on to something else. To reiterate, Kirby Star Allies is not bad. It's perfectly serviceable. In all honesty, there's never been a Kirby game I've outright hated. They all have a certain charm to them I find irresistible. I would, however, wait for the price to come down before checking this one out. Just go into it with an open mind that it's not going to do anything new with the franchise. At the end of the day, it'll provide you a fun, stress-free experience. Even the weakest Kirby games are more entertaining than a new Call of Duty game. And I'm off to find the nearest ditch before the COD fans find me. See you next time!